Hello, my name is Jupiter Hadley, and today I'm here with Ellian. We are doing another Indie Dev Spotlight. Ellian's a developer who's made a lot of Game Jam games over the last few years, like 20 of them, so that's a ton. Hi.
Hi.
Do you want to
This
introduce
is the
yourself?
moment that's the moment I'm supposed to introduce myself. This is going to be an absolutely awkward podcast for me. Hi everyone. I'm Ellian. And I'm a French pixel artist and I do game jam on occasion. And that's pretty much all I have to say about me because I don't know what you guys want to hear.
Well, I've got loads of questions to ask you, so I'm sure we'll learn a whole lot about you.
This is great.
This is great. So, the first Game Jam game on your website that you have entered was for the Ludum Dare 29?
Yep, that's right.
Awesome.
That's actually the second game I tried to make.
Did you?
Well, that's the first game I actually submitted to a game jam.
So did you try to enter like a previous Ludum Dare or something and you just didn't submit it?
Oh, I bailed out about 3 hours in.
3 hour mark. You didn't even get to the middle of the done.
Nope. That was Ludum Dare 28. I had no idea what I was doing, but that still gave me enough confidence to get into the next one. So I guess that was all right.
You must have learned a lot from those 3 hours.
Honestly, I don't remember how much time exactly I spent on that. I know that's actually more than 3 hours, but I know that was less than half the time I had to make a game. And I know that I didn't have anything that looked like a game.
Just random lines of code written on a napkin, some pixel art.
I'm pretty sure I got a square to move around and maybe jump.
Awesome. Good
And
start.
at some point, I was like, I have no idea where I'm going with that. I'm going to stop now and keep this experience for another time.
Fair enough. What sparked your interest in game jams? Why'd you decide to start them?
Oh, God. This is going to be a long explanation, I think.
That's fine.
So at the time, I was working as a level designer at Cyanide, which is a French company that make small, in the sense, not very well-known games. And I was living in Paris, and I knew that this is the shittiest city I've ever lived in, and I wanted to get out.
Fair enough.
All right, so far you follow. And the thing is, pretty much most of the companies that do video games in France are in Paris. And the few that are not don't recruit people that often. So I was at a point in my life where I decided to try to head in the indie game scene to get out of my current life. That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I started to learn, to improve my skill in pixel art. That took a couple years. And I reached a point where I was confident enough with my art and to start on the next step, which would be making games. Because I have experience in the past in schools for programming.
All right.
So game jams became like my way of dedicating time to learn new stuff, so I could become that indie dev.
Yeah, and it's a good way to also like get your name out there and like start to have a presence.
Yeah, I never thought about that at the time.
I'll just make some games. It'll make me better. That's fair enough.
Yeah, that's exactly how it went, and I'm pretty satisfied with everything I've learned, to be fair.
Your games are really quite a variety of games under your belt that you've created, and your pixel art is beautiful. I love
Thank you.
all of the creatures, all of the small aspects of your game, all of the assets. I love every bit of what you create. It's really amazing.
Thanks.
So you have continued to enter like lots of game jams, though you have slowed down a bit. There was a time when you entered like tons in 2014, and now in 2017 you tend to just stick to Ludum Dare. Is there any reason that you continue to make game jam games, even though that you feel that your skill is there?
Yeah. So the first batch of games I made was like I made my first Ludum Dare,
Mm-hmm.
Then right after that, some coworkers wanted to enter game jams too,
Mm-hmm.
mostly because they saw my game and were like, "Hey, we should do game jams."
Yeah, they're fun.
So I made like 2 game jams in 2 months.
Yep.
And right after that, there was the Fuck This Jam. Oh yeah, the Fuck This Jam 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Which I entered because I thought the idea was great. And at this point, I realized that I made 3 game jam in 3 months, and that's pretty much the exact same time I discovered the 1 game a month challenge.
Ah, cool.
Which is like onegameamonth.com. It's just an incentive to make 1 game every month.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided to do that for a year, and I spent. Yeah, and I did. And for 12 months, I've made a game that varied in terms of quality, to say the least. Some of them were made in less than 2 hours, and
That's
they worked.
Intense.
Yeah, and after that I had completed that goal, so I didn't feel the need to make any more game jams, I guess, and I had reached that point where I was satisfied with my coding skill.
Yeah.
But the thing is, game jam are super fun.
They are super fun.
So I keep doing Ludum Dare because, like, it's quote unquote the biggest one,
mm-hmm.
and it's easy to plan ahead because we have dates really early on, and I'm starting to grow some there are people who follow my game and know that I'm going to enter Ludum Dare and look forward to it. So yeah, I keep doing them because I don't know, I enjoy it. It's not that long too.
Yeah, it's only a couple of days, so it's
but but anytime now I enter a game jam is purely out of I just want a fun weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm stupid enough to think that a fun weekend is spending 2 to 3 days hiding in front of my computer, not sleeping, not eating correctly, and making games.
Well, you know, fun's different for everyone.
Yup.
Alright, so your first game jam game that you made, Where Is My Bone? It's sort of a darker platformer where you play a dog sniffing scents and finding objects. Your owner in your house is very sad, and you end up, even though you're an innocent dog, sniffing and digging up some not so innocent, not so great objects to get further in the game. And it's a really dark game. I had not played your first game that you'd made prior to this, and I was surprised that it was one from you because it is a darker game.
Yeah.
How do you feel having like the first game you released be sort of a game with a darker theme?
Well, at the time I was pretty deep in depression, partly because I was living in Paris, as I said, which had a lot of impact on my mental health being. And some personal shit going on, but the fact is I had no idea where I was going when I made that game. I had no experience with making game, especially in such short time, right? And I actually spent like the first 2 days, the first like maybe 42 hours of the 48 hours, making the game actually work. So I did most of the art at the time, the little dog, the backgrounds, but not all of it. And mostly spending the time getting where I wanted to go in terms of code and mechanics.
Yeah.
And I reached the point where I realized I needed to make an actual quest, an actual story for the game.
Point to it, yeah?
Yeah, and I'm fucking made that in like less than 3 hours. The 3 last hours of the game jams. So yeah, I don't know how to explain that, but it just came kind of naturally, which feels really weird to say when you make a super dark story. But yeah, I just thought it would be super funny because I started with that like kind of cheerful environment. Like it's kind of colorful. The dog character is like,
the dog's adorable.
Especially, he's kind of adorable and jumpy, and he looks happy. And my drawing skills were not extraordinary at the time, and I wanted to make the owner of the dog, the master.
Yeah.
And because I wasn't able to draw him as a, I don't know how to explain that. Sometimes when you draw some shit, you don't end up with the result you want.
Okay.
And because of my poor anatomy knowledge and not so great drawing skill, especially at the time, he ended up being really depressed.
Yeah, he looks super depressed. Even his picture on the wall, he looks very depressed.
Yeah, I made the picture on the wall after that, but because I ended up making him depressed not on purpose, I started the story about that because I was looking at, okay, why I made that guy depressed, why? And the story kind of fell into place immediately because I don't even want it to happen, but the happy, cheerful dog ended up finding shit, like real dark shit about the story. I'm not going to spoil it all, obviously, but I just thought it would be super funny to uncover that story playing a cheerful dog and trying to figure out why the guy is so bleak looking.
I don't know if super funny is the right word, but yeah, there's definitely makes for an interesting story. It's so unexpected.
Yeah, and that made me super happy because everyone who actually played the game to completion showed me with comments on the Ludum Dare site. And I was not expecting that much feedback, especially good ones, because it was my first game. And just the fact that I was able to surprise people made me real happy.
And it is a really nice and surprising little game. Yeah. The next game that you ended up making was for the Public Domain Jam in 2014. Yep. And that's sort of a very unfinished, I would say, game. It's another platformer about collecting scrolls to write plays.
Yeah.
And it isn't quite a playable game. It's my least favorite out of your games, to be completely honest.
Yeah, well, to be completely honest, that's the least that I almost don't want to put it on my list. So that's the game I made with my coworkers, which, may I remember everyone, were working in a video game company, and I only did the art for that game.
Yeah, there's only little glimpses of like what I associate with your style of art in that, and it's just like the main character. The rest all looks very different.
I didn't decide on the gameplay, which I think is pretty boring and creative. I didn't decide on how it was made or coded. And the fact is we were a team of 5 people.
Oh, wow.
And I did a lot of stuff for that game. And I'm not sure everything is in the game because they were not able to finish in time. And yeah, I don't want to blame them for everything, but they had even less idea what they were going into than I did at the time. And yeah, it just went to shit. Like when at the middle of the second day of a 2-day jam, you end up with no gameplay working. It doesn't feel right. Yeah. So I don't want to blame anyone for the quality of that game, but that's the reason pretty much almost all of the following games I made were solo projects.
So when you were working on that team with your coworkers, did you not want to give more input on the gameplay and the style of it, or were you unable to?
No, I was more like unable to. Well, it was a group game, so everyone had to make compromise on some stuff. I couldn't force people to make a game or gameplay idea.
Yeah, of course.
You think? And honestly, I don't even remember if I had one specific idea in mind that would have been better. But no, it was a team project. So yeah. It's just when you have with 5 people, you can't.
5 people is a lot of people to make one game for.
For 2 days, yeah.
Well, yes. That's fair enough.
So I gave all the input I wanted to when it came to graphics. Like maybe the implementation was not perfect, but my voice was totally heard when it came to graphics. It's just that I really enjoy making games on my own now.
That's fair enough.
Because I know exactly where I'm going, and I'm not good at relying on other people to do shit.
It's fair enough. A lot of people find that if they want to get something done, what's the saying? If you want to get something done right, you do it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's fair enough. I don't know if I'd ever be able to work with a team on any. I'm not like very good at working with a team on cooperative games, let alone creating something out of nothing.
Yeah. I can understand that. Yeah, I don't mind making games or anything else really with people I know I can trust. Mm-hmm. But in that case, it was not coworkers. I was really I didn't knew them that much. Mm-hmm. Like it was like just coworkers, and I had no idea what I was able to trust them with.
Yeah, and it was like your third jam ever.
Yeah. Yeah, like last January, I think, I made a game for Global Game Jam. Mm-hmm. So this year with a couple of friends, and that went great.
Cool.
So it's about knowing who you're working to.
Mm-hmm. And that's the game Can We Stay, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Which is an adorable looking little game. Where you play a little girl, and she's at the beach, and she wants to stay at the beach, and her parents have fallen asleep. And you build little sand castles and collect beach things like seaweed and shells and flags to make the sand castles stronger so that they keep the tides away from your parents.
Yeah, so that it doesn't wake them up.
So that the waves don't wake them up. Yeah. It's adorable. I love that.
It's not a perfect game, but I was really happy to do that because I knew I could trust my teammates to actually make everything happen in the time. And I made all the code for that. The art is from my friend Lou. Mm-hmm. And it was such a nice change of pace to be able to focus on just one part of a game.
Yeah, so you just did all of the coding in that, some of the coding and that was it. You didn't do any of the art in this one.
Yeah, and music was from my friend Patrick, who also did my last Ludovica game.
Okay, that's really cool. Do you rather make art than do the code? Like, which bit? If you had to only pick one for the next year of Game Jam doing, would you only do art or would you only do code?
If it was only for game jams, I would only do code, but mostly because art is like my daily job.
Yeah, fair enough.
I spend a lot of fucking time making art every single day.
So it'd be a good change of scenery.
So
almost.
yeah, it's more relaxing to do anything that is not art. Which
enough.
Does not mean that I don't enjoy making art for game jams, but if I had to pick one, I would pick the relaxing one.
So I play a lot of games every day, as you know. And a lot of people assume that I just play games in my free time. I do not play games in my free time. I relax in my free time.
I know.
So it's not relaxing anymore to play games. Not that I don't enjoy it, but yeah. So do you have a favorite game that you've made for a jam?
Yeah, I think that's Good Impression.
That's my favorite game that you've made ever.
Yeah, well, same.
Good Impression's like a short little sort of arcade, I guess, style game where you clean up your room really quickly but efficiently before your mom comes to visit your apartment. And if you put things in the wrong place, because your mom knows everything, she finds out and grades you based on your room being clean and cleaned correctly. And that aspect where it's cleaned correctly, it's one of the reasons why it's my favorite is because you can't just... First of all, it's a tight time scale, but you can't just throw stuff anywhere. You have to actually think about each object you're picking up and figure out where it actually belongs.
Yeah, you cannot hide a pizza in the bed. Mom will notice that.
Yes. You cannot put pizza in the bed. You cannot put clean or dirty laundry in your wardrobe. Everything has a spot, and your mom knows those spots, and you might not, so it might take a few goes before you figure it out.
Yeah.
That's a really, really fun game.
Almost all of the items and the place they go to are supposed to make sense. Mm-hmm. But since it's in my head, it might not make sense for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Which is fair. It's fair enough. It does make sense after you play through one or two times, but as you know, the first few times I played, I couldn't find a home for everything.
Yeah.
So I was like, but where does this? But I don't have any more places to put it. And you were like, oh, you do. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of why I love this game, because it's like the most complete game I've ever done for a game jam. Mm-hmm. Like there is a real ending. There's a lot of polish. Like
it's very polished.
I feel like for once I've made like a real finished product, right?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing that I like about it is that there even is replayability. Like you're absolutely not expected to get it right on the first time.
Or the second time, or the third time.
No, yes, exactly. Like we managed to. I say we because I don't think we've said that. I've made this game with my friends Chris early, and Alex. William Palm made music and sound for the game. That actually might be one of the first game I made with friends and teammates, because I cannot do music on my own. And
explains why a lot of your early jam games have no sound effects.
Yeah, and Chris brought me a lot of support and made some additional art, including the title screen, the fonts, and some icons for the game. And it was good to have support to make the game, or feedbacks when I was making shit. And so where was I? We managed to get like what I think is a perfect balance for the game, because you have exactly 3 minutes to finish the game. And even when I play and I know exactly where every item should go, I have like less than 30 seconds left.
Yeah, there's not a lot of time left on a perfect run, so it's really quite intense. And there's and that's the cleaning aspects as well.
Yeah, and we made the music to improve this idea of tension. Like the music ramps up all the time. And yeah, I'm just very satisfied with pretty much everything in that fucking game.
Even like the character as he cleans, his butt shakes back and forth just ever so slightly as he cleans. He's adorable.
A good fucking game is about details.
All of the
and
details.
And I think like a good detail is a fucking butt.
Yes. And it is a great game. I enjoyed it. It's a game that I've played through the most out of all your games. I've gone back to it several times because it's hard for me to win it, and I have to win it.
Did you win it? Did you get the
highest score? I remember winning it and tweeting you a screenshot after Dari because I spent ages just playing it over and over again, going, no, I know where everything goes. I know where it all goes. Why can't I don't have enough time? This is not fair. You can't actually win.
Yeah, and you want your mom to be proud of you.
Oh yes, I definitely want my mom to be proud of my really, really nice studio apartment that I'm in all by myself.
I had a lot of people like actually send me comments on the site, or send me DMs on Twitter saying, "Oh yeah, the game was great. I got I don't know, a B or something as a grade." And I was just, well, your mom would not be happy with that. You need to get better and
get good.
It's because it's playing with the fact that you have probably a mom you want her to be proud of you. A lot of people actually went and tried to get the high score because that's such a good incentive to get you to do something, like pushing it with the idea of a mom. I don't know.
No,
I'm happy.
It is.
I'm happy with all the concepts we managed to get in the game.
I'm glad. It's one of my favorites. It's a really, really wonderful game. I enjoy it so much. Moving on to a game that I didn't really quite understand. Made Car PG, Competitive Automotive Racing Pro Grand Prix for the Fuck This Jam, which you were mentioning earlier. And it's sort of like a racing car game that has almost a Pokemon-style battle element to it. Yeah.
It's far from perfect.
What inspired that, though, that mix of those genres?
I fucking hate racing game. Like, the idea with Fuck This Jam is that you were supposed to make a game that you wouldn't like.
Yeah.
Well, you start with an idea you don't like. And the first thing that came to mind is, well, I don't like racing game. like I don't mind that they exist, but I just don't like racing game. So I try to make a type of racing game that I would enjoy, and I enjoy playing RPGs. So yeah, I try to make a racing game where all the racing elements are trying to win RPG battles.
Yeah.
So you end up, instead of having attacking or defending or using items, you have speed up, brake, or I don't remember exactly, like turn.
Honk. There's
Honk, yes.
bump off the road.
Yeah. So yeah, the idea is that with honk or bump into the other character, you can stress them out. And the more stressed you are, the less chance you have to successfully realize an action. And you win an RPG battle when you speed up a certain amount of time to reach your max speed.
I really like the idea of battling people. I like the idea of this like car battle, and it's like some really intense cutscenes when you pick what you want. Like comes across you and it looks so badass. Yeah. You feel so great about failing and breaking your whatever the shifting stick in cars are
that's
called.
initially.
And I thought that was really cool, but I just wasn't quite sure what was what the moves did, I guess. So I wasn't sure that if I was making these guys angry or if I was just failing. And then when you die, you explode. And it just says like Michael Bay, something about Michael Bay, and I was like, well, that's funny, but why did I die?
I didn't even remember you could die.
You explode. Your car explodes.
Okay, that's a game that's still on my mind because I want to actually make it good someday.
It's
really not going to happen soon, but I want to make fucking RPG car battling game.
Well, it's got some really good ideas. I don't really like racing games, but I found that racing game to be fun. If things were a bit clearer, if it had more of a tutorial, I guess, it would be a full-fledged game.
And I would have to rethink some of mechanics, but yes, I'm sure I can get there someday. The idea is there.
The idea is there, and some of the boning's there as well. I think if you had a look at it. But yeah. Colonization's another game that you made for the Ludum Dare 30. And it's like a simple space exploration / management game that is another game that's nearly there. It's nearly a finished game.
Yeah, it's not finished, and I don't mind it because that's, especially in the first year, I was trying to make a different kind of game every time.
Ah, okay.
So if you look, if you look in my first games, you had some games that were more arcadey. There are some platformers. There is Colonization, that is that space simulator game. And I was trying to make a completely different game every time.
You did a very good job of doing that.
To explore, and I didn't want to specialize in one type of thing since the goal was to learn shit.
Yeah.
And I knew starting on that I would not be able to actually finish Colonization within the time I had, because it's a simulation game that takes a fucking long time to make. And so I'm super happy with that game, but it's not a good game. What I'm happy with is what I learned from it.
That's fair. That's fair enough. You got something out of it, even though it's not completely done. Do you ever consider going back and like finishing up these games, or do you?
No.
No. They're dead to me.
I try not to look back because it's easy to try and improve again and again and again something you've done. But I like to move on and try to make better things. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
I'd rather use the experience I got to make something new and better than try to improve on something that's not great to begin with. Like Colonization is all right, but it's not a great game to begin with. Like even the idea of it is not anything special.
That's fair enough. Just curious if you go back and you think about finishing up. I've not. Most of the time when I ask that, sorry.
There are some games that I would like to remake. Like I would love to go back to Where Is My Bone and making like an actual real finished game, just because that's my first one.
Yeah.
And I feel close to that one, and I would want to see what I would be able to do in the same amount of time 3 or 4 years later. But yeah, most of these games I don't necessarily want to go back to. I like the idea of that racing RPG game, but outside of that, not much of these games are worth spending more time on.
I just ask that question a lot, and most of the time, developers are like, "Yeah, I'd love to go back and complete them, but time." And you're like, "No, I do not want to go back to them.
I want to move on and make better things."
That's a very good answer.
There is one game in all the list that I want to go back, but I want to make it an actual fucking real game that would make at least 4 years to make.
Oh,
so that's not going to happen. Yeah, that's not going to happen anytime soon.
Nah. So a lot of your games have a very distinct style and look to them visually. So do you tend to create pixel art graphics because it is your favorite style, or is it because it's the best type of graphics that you can create, or do you keep it consistent so people know it's your work?
There's a really simple answer to that. It's the only style I'm capable to do.
Fair enough. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you not think about learning different art styles along with learning different coding aspects when you were learning?
I would love to now, but I don't have the time anymore. Time is the most precious resource I have right now.
Yeah.
And it's all used up. I don't have any time to allocate to learning a new art style or stuff like that right now.
But you have definitely mastered pixel art. Do you enjoy doing pixel art?
I wouldn't go that far, but yes, I love doing pixel art. I've always done some kind of art and drawings all my life, ever since I was a kid. But when I was drawing as a kid, I was always drawing very, very small shit. My friends and parents would always pick on me because I was drawing shit that would be on the right size to go on a stamp.
Okay.
And I think that pixel art is the perfect fit for that.
It is. It's nice, tiny little things. You get a remarkable amount of detail in your tiny, tiny little creatures and things.
Yeah, that's a challenge I enjoy. Trying to put as many details with keeping sprites readable.
That's really cool. So speaking of graphics, you have a lot of games that have a lot of different assets in them. So your game Let's Get Candy is a sort of trick-or-treating Halloween-themed game where you pick different kids in costumes to knock on doors for candy. That game has loads of people with different costumes in it. Tiny Plumber, the platformer where you're going deep into a pipe and removing bits of garbage in it to reach a clog before riding the water back up the pipe, has lots of different bits of garbage and things that you'd get stuck in your sink and in your toilet. And Extreme Gen is your reaction-based game where you play a girl balancing and waving slightly in the wind, looking to avoid objects that fly towards her. They all have all of these different tiny objects that you can collect almost in that game. Do you find it hard to come up with all of these different assets, all these tiny objects? No, you just have tons of them.
I love making most of these games have static assets, not animated.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love making tiny sprites, loads of them. I didn't make that often, but I made 100 fruits and vegetable sprites one time because I was bored and I wanted to do something that I would enjoy.
That's really cool.
And I did the same thing with swords. I did small sprites of sword. I made 100 of them. And there was no real reason to that. Just I enjoy it. It's like doodling some mindlessly some stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, these games where I was at a point where I thought that content was important in game.
Mm-hmm.
I still think it's important, especially in game jams. But I just enjoyed making a lot of small content for these games.
I find it hard to think of all of these different objects, and especially in Extreme Zen when the objects come and hit you, and then if they hit you, you get to collect them in a separate part of the game. Just looking at the variety of objects that hit me, because I sucked at the game, it was really interesting.
I sucked too.
Some of it's stuff I would never think of, to include in a game. So it's really neat to hear that it comes so naturally to you. You don't have to like look up pictures of random objects and then find stuff in it.
I don't know. I just come up with that kind of easily. You just think of random shit you have in your house or laying around.
Fish on a stick was one of the things that hit me when I was in Extreme Zen, and I was like, "What?"
And do you have any idea what it looks like?
Fish on a stick.
Yeah.
It was this like specific type of fish. It was like a stick with it looked like, I don't know, Japanese food or something, maybe Chinese food, just kind of attached to it.
Yeah. Honestly, I probably just watched an anime with fish on stick. Then if it looked Japanese, it might just come from something I just saw or consumed as media.
Mm-hmm. It's just stuff I wouldn't have thought of, so it was very surprising that these things were hitting me. I
love trying to come up with shit people don't expect. Like an example that I try to bring up every time is like, okay, you want to make a mermaid, right?
Yeah.
So most people are going to draw a lady top with a fish tail. That's great, good. I'm going to ask you, okay, what kind of fish?
Koi fish.
Is it a salmon? Is it a crayfish? Is it an octopus? Is it a manta ray?
You have a mermaid.
Like, that's the thing. People would I don't want to sound like a jerk, but most people are just going to go with the idea of a fish, and I just try to think of something that people would not expect. Like, okay, same. I always use animals for the animal monsters or chimera for these ideas, but like it's the same thing with harpies, right? Mm-hmm. The ladybirds monsters.
Yeah.
Don't just draw a bird. Is it going to be a parrot harpy? Is it going to be an eagle? Is it going to be a fat fucking pigeon? You have pigeon
bombing you and destroying your land?
Yeah. Yeah, there are just so many ways to do things people don't expect. But it's kind of sad when you just stick to the easiest solutions.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, that does make sense. It's one of the things, when I play your games, I'm always very excited to play your games because they're never straightforward with the theme. So, like, the last Ludum Dare, the theme was, like, Tiny World or Small World or something like that. And I played Little Planet, maybe Tiny Planet. I feel like it had, like, I don't know. So I played a lot of games that were just you defending an Earth, which is fine. It's fine if that's the game you entered in the Ludum Dare, but a lot of you guys entered that in the Ludum Dare.
Yeah, right.
But you made such a different platformer.
That example is not good because I don't think my idea was really fitting the theme that well.
But it was just so different. I'm kind of like...
But yeah.
I'm always glad, even if you don't stick to the theme, I'm always glad about your game afterwards because it never does just stick to the first thought that you'd have on that theme. And sometimes it might go a little bit out of what the theme is, but it's great. Yeah,
because that's my advice to everyone who tries to do game jam. Don't go with your first idea. It's going to be the most boring shit you can come up with, and everyone is going to have the same idea. Mm-hmm. No offense on anyone, but try to do something that people don't expect.
You do a good job of doing that. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's way more exciting for me if everyone makes really different games. Your last Ludum Dare game was Feather Fighter, and you were sort of attacking giant birds up in the sky, and some poop on you, and other ones dive at you and destroy the blocks that's remaining in your world.
Yeah, that game feels really unfinished.
It is very unfinished.
Yeah.
But it was different.
Yeah,
I liked it.
And I'm not super happy with the idea I had because it does not fit the theme that well, in my opinion. But the basic idea is that I wanted to have a world you would have to protect, and that would also mean your end, because the theme was tiny worlds.
Yeah.
So I tried to focus on the idea of having to protect your world so you could keep playing.
Mm-hmm. And the birds will break your blocks, and then your world ends up being very small.
Yeah.
So you have to really defend it quite quickly and quite
I should have made the hero invincible, so you would just have to focus on protecting the the world.
But you live and you learn. I like the birds. I felt a little sad that I was shooting the birds, but I like the birds. Another game of yours that I really liked is Monster.
So... All right, that's the game I want to make into a full project.
Yeah.
Yeah. That game comes from like old Bullfrog game, like Film Hospital.
Okay.
Just because you could recruit different doctors and staff for your house, for your hospital, and they all had traits and different skills. And I just want to make a game from that, like a managing game where you would have like, I don't know, you have a castle to defend.
Yeah.
And you have to pick the staff that's your monster staff. You would be like a dark lord protecting your castle in some fantasy world, and you have to hire the henchmen that are going to protect it. I have way too many ideas for this game for it to happen anytime soon.
It's such a good game, though. It's one of
my,
I
don't know.
These sort of simulators, I really enjoy simulators, especially simulators that let me. In this game, you're hiring demons to do different jobs, and they have a little backstory. And I like all the backstories. Some of their skills are written out in plain text at the bottom, whereas others you have to sort of decipher from their story. And I like having this power to decide where they're going to go and what they're going to do. And I also like reading about their little lives and finding the best job for them.
Yeah.
And I also love the graphics, as always.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. It could be better.
I mean, all jam games could be better if there was more time and there was...
Can they? I don't know. I could improve on good impression.
You could not improve on the graphics on anything about good impression. It's a perfect game. The best. 10 out of 10, wouldn't play again.
Nah.
Forever. The best. Nope, can't disagree. You're wrong. Sorry.
I've set the bar so high with that one. But yeah, I like Monster. I like the idea of having a lot of choice.
Ooh. Hello, Kiwi squeaking in the back. I told you he was going to make noise.
It's okay. Yeah, when I became a level designer for that company, the guy who mentored me, the lead designer, kept telling me over and over that the most important thing in games is having choices.
Okay.
And I kind of agree with that because it's super fun as a player when you have different choices of things to do and different outcomes.
Yeah.
So you get to make your own story and gameplay and shit.
Yeah, you have almost more control over how the game ends and how the game ends up.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And whatever happens, it's your fault because it's your choice.
My fault. It's always fun, things being my fault. Like when I hire the wrong guy and I feel like I've ruined his life. Perfect. But yeah, it's a pretty good game. I'd be really interested in checking it out if you did continue it. I know you wouldn't now, but at some point in the future...
I will someday, but we are talking years and years in the future.
I can't wait. I'm sure with the vast knowledge that you learn between now and then, you'll have such a great game.
I hope so.
I hope so. Now there's all this pressure. You're never going to finish it.
Don't say that.
I'm sorry. But, okay. I'm going to ask you another question, because that's what we're doing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't have a good transition, so that was that. You've entered a lot of different jams. So you've done the NES jam, the Ludum Dare, Trick or Treat jams, PewDiePie versus Indies jam, Monster Mash jam, Fuck This jam, Public Domain jam, Mini LDs, Train jam. Is there any thing that sticks out in your head as a particularly great aspect of a jam, or a jam that was really fun or well ran?
Okay, I'm not sure what you want to know here.
I know, it's kind of a weird open-ended question.
Yeah. I'm going to make a vague answer.
Perfect.
No, multiple answers actually. Especially when I was doing the one game a month challenge. I was constantly looking at game jam calendars, which you can easily find online. Yeah. And I would just try to pick the one that would be the most creative.
Okay.
Right? I mean, I stick to Ludum Dare because it's a big one. I have a lot of people I follow that enter them, and vice versa. But outside of that, I try to aim at game jams that, I don't know, that feels like I could bring something interesting.
Ones that inspire you more, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Except for the PewDiePie jam, which was obviously try to grab on on celebrity and shit.
Fair enough.
Let's be honest. Yeah, no, I try, like the NES jam. I made Tiny Plumber for the NES jam because it has a lot of limitations. And I thought that was super interesting to try to stick to specific palettes and specific ways of rendering things or making sounds.
Yeah.
And
Train Jam.
And yeah.
You actually went to Train Jam because that's a game jam that happens on a train at a location.
Yes, and it's the best. It's not the best. It's not the best game jam.
Okay.
Because it turns out a train is really not a great place to make a game.
Yeah, do you think?
Have you tried? I didn't thought about it before I would be there, but did you ever think about drawing in a moving train?
I mean, no, I didn't think about much in a moving train other than sleeping and then getting to my destination.
Oh, great. I didn't have a bed, so even sleeping was a challenge. But yeah, no, Train Jam was fantastic because the setting is insane. Like, it's super original and fun to be on a train with people you barely know for, what was it, like 70 hours or something?
Yeah, it's like, it was variable. You never know.
I'm not being ironical here. It's really fun. And the scenery is fantastic. But as far as game jams go, I'm not sure that's the best setting.
But is that the only jam you've ever done in person?
Yes.
Do you prefer to do jams like at a location with people or on your own online?
I think the answer to that is easy since I've made like 18 games at home and 2 on locations. Yeah, I prefer making games at home because when I make a game jam, it's like a relaxing thing. So being home with the comfort of my home, I know I can sleep in my bed whenever I want, take a shower, take a break, and go spend time with my dog, my wife, my cat, I have everything on hand. So yeah, of course, I like making games at home better.
That's fair enough. It's more of a relaxing environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
But again, Train Jam, if anyone listening has any chance to go someday, it's a great experience.
Do you think that Train Jam's the best jam that you've entered? Which is the best jam that you've ever entered?
For the jam itself?
Yeah, for the jam itself, for the way that it's hosted? Yeah, okay,
Train Jam by far. Oh, yeah. And I cannot think of any jam that would top that.
It is a really wonderful jam.
Maybe if someone makes a boat jam.
A boat jam?
Yes.
There is a Nordic cruise ship game jam that happens around Norway, I want to say.
Okay. That might eventually be better than Train Jam, but that's all I can think of.
Cool.
Make a space station game jam, and I would be down.
Go to outer space and back and see what you can create.
Yes.
That might be a bit out of this world. Yeah. That was a really bad joke. I'm moving on. Do you find that the variety of different jams that you've entered, each with their own rules and themes and limitations, did that help you in producing a variety of games?
Yeah, but well, as I said, that's exactly why I was, especially early on, I was trying to do different jams.
But did you find that having all these different themes, it helped inspire you to do like completely different ideas?
Yeah, but look at the Fuck This Jam game. I would never make a racing game.
Ever.
No, I'm kidding. But yeah. Sometimes I wish I didn't always made Ludum Dare, and instead try to go to different jams just to see if I can come up with better ideas. Because Ludum Dare's themes are not bad. Like everyone complains about them, but it's part of the fun. But the themes are like kind of always the same general idea.
Yeah, they're very similar. Like last time it was one room, this time it's tiny world.
Yeah, and it's not even about the theme itself, but the way it works. Like the NES Jam brings so many limitations. For example, it's really something different. Like I made a game for the Indies versus Gamers Game Jam.
Yeah.
Which was not necessarily the greatest game jam, but it brings a really different idea for the game because you're trying to make something that is streamable. If I remember well, you try to make a game that's more about entertaining players or eventually entertaining people who watch playing.
Yeah.
And that's really different, but just making a game for Legendary.
And it gives you a lot more to think about.
Yeah. And it changed the way you think about making your game, I think.
Do you have a favorite genre of games you like to develop?
Not really.
Not really. A little bit everything?
I often come back to simulation games. I'm saying that loosely.
Yeah.
But I often some kind of arcade simulation game, but I don't have a gender I prefer.
Alright, that's fair. What are some things you've learned from game jams?
Wow.
It's a big question. You can answer it however you'd like.
Could you be less specific?
What is something you've learned from game jams that has to do with your graphics and your art? That narrow it down. How do you make graphics so fast, and how do you make so many of them in jams?
I wouldn't be able to say. I think just because it's my job and I know how to do them fast.
It's a lot of practice. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I've learned. It's just that I've learned a lot of things, but nothing that specifically come up right now.
That's fine.
I think the thing I've most learned from Game Jam is managing my time. I think, not just my time, but the scope of what I'm doing. Like I still mess up a lot of time. When I did Super Shifter, which we didn't talk about, when the jam ended, the game was barely playable.
Yeah, Super Shifter is not one of the games that you've made that sort of sticks out in my head. You have made so many of them. Super Shifter, it's got some cool mechanics.
I'm happy with the post-jam version, but the version I made specifically for the jam, at the end of the jam, was not great because it was not finished. But whatever, most of my games are barely finished, but I reach a point where I have a decent idea of where I can go within the time scope of the jam. And that's how we managed to make a good impression so good in such time, because I knew exactly what I would be able to do within the jam time.
Alright, scope's very important when it comes to jams. It's a lot of it gets overlooked a lot.
I feel from one game jam to the next, I get better and better managing my time and the scope of the game.
The games that you've created have definitely got better and better as they continue to develop.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for creating amazing games.
I wouldn't go that far, but...
Well, you have made amazing games. I mean, you can disagree with me all you'd like, but you have made amazing games.
I made at least one.
I mean, more than one, yes, but okay.
Okay.
Okay. Fine, Jupiter. Yes, move on. Is there any other games you'd like to talk about? Or anything else you'd like to talk about?
Not really. I mean, you can look them all up. I think they all have something special. But yeah, yes. I want to talk about Bombardier.
Okay.
I don't have that much to say on it.
Okay.
But I was moving at the time. I went back to my parents. I left Paris for that game.
All right.
I was moving back to my parents at the time and becoming a full-time freelance, and I barely had any time to make the game. So I made the game in less than 3 hours, I think.
Oh, wow.
And it's actually a real working game. It's not the best one by far, but it's a fully working game that has everything I intended to do. I did that in one evening. And the reason I made this one specifically is because it came from an old game I was playing with my parents when I was a kid.
Oh, so and I think inspiration from there.
Yeah, and I think it was fitting because I was moving back to my parents.
That's quite cool. And that was just made for like the one game a month. It wasn't made for a specific jam.
Yeah, no, I was moving. There was no jam in the time I had at the time because I was so busy. And yeah, I ended up making that, like, I think it was like 3 or 4 days before GDC. And yeah.
That's really cool. You were able to make such a playable thing in that small amount of time.
Yeah, and that's one thing I was saying about managing my time, because I knew I would be able to make the entire game in one evening.
And then you've also made, just talking about games that didn't have a jam involved, you made a game, just another small game about participating in game jams, Super Jam.
Yeah.
And I know it's just another small game that's not quite finished, but it's a cool idea.
I just figured it was a good way to finish my one game a month challenge. That was the last game I made for that challenge, and I thought making a game about game jams was kind of a fun idea. But I was still busy at the time and didn't have the full time I wanted to actually make the game good. But yeah. I think I got the idea right.
Yeah, it's a really nice idea. But yeah, are you working on anything not jam-based currently? I know you do lots of art for different things. Do you want to plug any of your stuff?
I mostly work on Rivals of FIFA right now, which is a 2D pixel art platform fighter. So I don't like making comparison, but it's pretty much like Smash, but on PC and soon on Xbox One.
Oh, cool.
We just announced a new character, which is a guest character coming from the game Ori and the Blind Forest, which most of you probably know.
Very lovely game.
And yeah, the game is, I mean, let's be honest, the game is not that bad.
Let's be honest, it's not that bad.
Yeah, okay, I have no idea where I'm going with that, but yeah, the game is pretty good. We had a great reception from player. The game came out like a month or 2 ago. Yeah, the game came out 1 or 2 months ago. We got great feedback from the players. The game is doing well in tournaments too.
So it's fun to fight each other.
Yeah. And the reason I'm saying that is because apparently for SmashCon in August, we are going to announce our next character, which I'm currently working on.
Oh, wow.
And that's pretty much all I can say about it.
That's fine. It's more than enough. Your characters in the game
are
beautiful.
I'm not going to spend too much time advertising the game.
That's fine.
Don't worry. And I'm also working on a personal project which is not announced yet.
Do you want to announce it?
Because I could, but I don't think I'm trying to get to what we call a vertical slice of a game.
Yeah.
Which means like a real finished, playable mock-up of a game, if you will.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to reach that point. I'm not that far off, and when it's done, I'm probably going to talk about it. But yeah, just look forward to nothing, I guess.
Well, I look forward to it. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on and talking to me and hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you want to check out Ellian, all of his links will be in the description. Yeah, and if you want to check me out, my info's also in the description. Yeah,
check what she's doing. She's doing great.
Check out what you're doing. What you're doing is great and beautiful. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
Right, bye.
Bye, thank you.